Welcome to Beyond the Drywall, the place where we talk about tools, tenants, and the truths about property management and construction that nobody else will say. This is not some guru, corporate, you too can make passive income in real estate spiel. This is a gritty, real-world survival guide, presented in a humorous yet no BS manner. I'm John, and I didn't set out to be a property manager. In fact, 7 years ago, I was broke, homeless, and riding around in Ubers to manage rentals. Today I run two companies, a property management company and a small construction company. This is my story. I know that I tell a lot of stories here. Some of it is to make light of the situation. In order to be more compliant, I have greatly truncated many actual elements in this story. Being a property manager can put you in some very serious predicaments. Now, I am no expert on violence. I can only talk about things that I personally have experienced in my years of being a property manager and through my experiences traveling around the world both personally and professionally. The one other thing that I left out is that my father spent many years in law enforcement at one time. My neighbors were all cop. My best friend was also a cop before he was unalived. So, being around all that has made me aware of my surroundings. Maybe a little more than most. What I do know personally about violence is this. It can happen very fast, without warning and without a face. It can be impersonal, and oftentimes the victim had nothing to do with their attacker. It just happens. In many cases, it will happen to good people just trying to live their lives, but the impact can be everlasting. This episode is more about that, trying to avoid putting yourself in harm's way and getting yourself out as quickly as possible if you find yourself in a bad situation. And because I own another company that does maintenance, I will share stories from that side as well. During the time that I was managing the haunted Victorian mansion, a tenant had gone out of town and let his brother watch his place. The brother invited his girlfriend. Weed-based smells soon came about. The haunted mansion had attached to it 3 rental units that had been carved out back in the 50s, so you could hear if there was any loud activity going on. A heated discussion between the visiting brother and his girlfriend came about. The brother decided to start slamming his girlfriend into the walls. Now, as a personal rule, I tend to let people have discussions on their own, and for the most part mind my own business. However, when it's that obvious that there is a domestic argument happening in real time, enough is enough. I knock on the door and walk into the unit and tell the brother that I am about to call the police. The girlfriend is standing next to me, explaining that it was all just a misunderstanding. I then send the girlfriend home. Immediately after, I remembered my father, the former policeman, mentioning that cops get injured, or worse, all the time answering domestic conflicts, because both parties will turn on the policeman if one is threatened with going to jail. Nobody called me into this situation. I was just walking by the apartments, and the next thing you know, I'm in the middle of a domestic situation that really could have gone either way. Before the girl agreed to go home, she informed me that her boyfriend simply could not get arrested. He was just a little upset and didn't mean to push her around, that it was her fault for provoking him. If any of you are in law enforcement are hearing this, I'm sure it sounds familiar. Right before the couple both turn on you to give one of them a chance to run. Often, property managers are also brought in to calm down warring roommates. It often starts off with abuse of the common area privileges, food theft, or overly loud partying. Lover breakups are the worst. The Russians have a saying, there is only one word between love and hate. After walking in cold to a few of these situations, you do this long enough, and you begin to realize that you better take your own safety into consideration. Pew-pews are not really an option, even though it probably makes the most sense in the hood. It's never good to gain the reputation as a PEW toting property manager. It just invites trouble. Carrying a PEW gets attention and immediately puts the tenants in a defensive mode. I think the Andy Griffith, sheriff without a PEW method, is the best approach. Common day-to-day activities where it just makes sense to be aware of your surroundings and have some sort of advanced preparation in hand. If you are going into a neighborhood to collect rent that has multiple units, the tenants already know who you are. They also know that during rent collection periods, you may be carrying large amount of cash on you. It is not uncommon for tenants to just hand you a wad of cash. Many tenants are bankless and can't make it to the post office and don't want to go through the whole money order/check draft thing. Do you really think that a white property manager in the hood making the rounds is going to be a difficult target to identify? Oh yeah, you blend. Let's say you are checking your properties during the winter when squatters are known to break in, and you see something funny with a side window. Many times, squatters break in during winter months to keep warm. The thing is, they know that people look in the lower level windows, so they go upstairs and hide in the back parts of the house and camp out on the floors. So now, you've got to check the whole house to make sure it's secure and empty. I have had a couple properties that were located in the middle of turf wars. The kind where there are watchers on the corners of every block that signal to the dealers any suspicious movement. I remember one tenant telling me that during a gang conflict, his car had been shot 7 times in one day. He still wanted to remain in the apartment. Then you have the reports from tenants that their neighbors, who are also your tenants, may also be dealers themselves. So that makes for all kinds of future interesting questions and discussions. On the rehab, construction, and maintenance side of things, it's never a good feeling to walk into a potential investment property that has been dormant for a long period. That pretty girl's bloom has been long gone. What remains are sketchy broken doors and empty promises, dark corners and unfriendly basements that all have to be checked out. The power is usually off, and the smells bring out the dirty secrets of what has happened from years gone by. The multi-level ones are the worst. I tend not to enter those without backup. Just remember that in the bigger units, your opponent may also have backup. Let's take a second and pause here. I am new to this whole podcast thing, so apparently I am supposed to ask you to like and follow and share to get my numbers up. Higher numbers will help me keep this thing going, so if you would be so kind, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. And now, back to the program as well. What has evolved through the years of doing property management and maintenance/construction work is a list of self-protection and awareness tools. I always have a few options that I bring with me in each vehicle. My workers also carry similar items with them when they are out in the field. Some of this may seem like overkill. However, keep in mind that my entire kit developed as I acquired a new piece of equipment after a bad incident had already happened, in preparation of the next time. Some of these you may want to write down if you manage a lot of properties in bad areas. The last item on the list is actually the most used of them all. Remember to always check your local laws to see if it is legal to carry these items in your state. It may or may not be. The laws have changed in some areas. Would not want anyone to get into trouble here, including me. Here are the top self-preservation and awareness items I have with me when visiting properties in bad areas. A powerful flashlight/zappy zappy combo thingy. This allows you to take out 2 birds with 1 stone. If you could only grab one thing from the glove box before you entered an empty home, it would be that. I have never seen an argument continue after one of these has lit up. A stick, just like the boys in blue carry. Remember, never ever hit anyone in the head with these things. It can be fatal. An assisted opening Sharpie thingy. Usually, for only when really bad things are about to happen. A hot pocket sprayer with a hand grip base. A Narcan dispenser. Like I said, I've added a new piece after each time there was a bad experience in the field. This list was developed under trial by fire. So, what does that come to? Other than the flashlight, something like 5 bad experiences? Yeah, that's about right. You don't want to be the one wishing you had these items when you are already in bad situation. Let me give you a little more detail in how these items may come in handy. The flashlight Zappy Zappy Combi is perfect for entering properties that the power has been turned off, particularly if there is a need to go down into the basement to check to see if the unit is unoccupied. One long press of the Zappy Zappy button makes an ideal attention getter and sets the tone for the rest of the discussion. Sticks are great at giving distance between you and your subject matter, whatever that may be, spiderweb, dog, or just an overly amorous drug addict. In a tense moment, distance is key. They come in several lengths. If you only remember one thing, never hit anyone in the head with the sticks. Don't do it. Sharpie thingies are generally used for situations involving really intense moments. Pretty self-explanatory, and should only be a last resolve. Now, the hot pocket sprayer with a hand grip is one of my favorites. Small, lightweight, discreet. The thing works on technology like an airbag, 2-shot device. The stuff that comes out of it is more like a gel than a spray, and it will travel like 13 feet and put out an 8-inch pattern. Totally decimating. There is also a Kydex holster that costs more than the hot pocket sprayer, but it makes it secure and concealable. I'm telling you, it will stop a large charging animal in its tracks. The Narcan dispenser is for when you come across a near-dead body inside the property, and you just don't feel like answering a lot of questions. Get them up and then push them out the door. Like I said, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Now, for the most popular piece of kit, a police-grade body cam. They have many different sizes. I use this piece every day I am out in the field, every single day that I know I will be meeting tenants. Not just the sketchy ones. I will tell you why. It protects both me and the tenant. Okay? It protects me more. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. When dealing with people, you must consider multiple variables. Your intentions may be squeaky clean, but the other person's may or may not be. Things change, and they often change quickly. You would be surprised how many times he said, she said comes into play. Also, tenants when faced with discussions regarding past rent often make undocumented promises. Assurances given without regard. Videos often help future conversations along. Body cams are not just for illustrating what was justifiable and what was not. I swear by these things so much that I make my maintenance guys wear them on service calls as well. I'll share a real-world funny story. One of my guys was doing work at a new potential good referral contact's house. Attractive, middle-aged realtor lady. My guy was in the other room cutting through a wall. The woman was working on a shelf in her bedroom, painting. There is a crash sound in the bedroom, and the woman calls for help. My guy hears the plea for help and runs into the bedroom. The woman had slipped off the 3-step ladder, and the tray of paint she was working with fell off the shelf and went all over her. By the time my guy entered the room, she had already pulled off her top and was asking for help up. Another time, I got a call from a tenant telling me that we had a problem and that I needed to come down to the apartments and investigate. Now, this property was totally in the hood. It was in Annapolis, Maryland, in the only 6-block stretch of hood they have in the entire city, not too far from the courthouse. The tenant that was being informed on was already way late in rent payments, and unresponsive to our attempts to communicate. She was due for a visitation anyway. What the neighbor told me was that tenant was now running a whorehouse, and that her boyfriend was a low-end pharmaceutical rep. Wonderful news. I called the local police and asked if they could meet up with me as I performed a wellness check. I was told to let them know as time got closer, which was better than laughing in my face, I guess. So I decided to go on down and take a look. When I parked away from the building at the end of the parking lot to get ready, I noticed another tenant from the building in the side yard sitting in a tent with a cooler listening to the radio. I was wearing dark sunglasses. As I began to put on my body cam, my stick, my zappy thingy, my hot pocket blaster, and my sharpie thingy, I heard the tenant in the yard shout, "Oh shit, bounty hunters!" as he jumped up and ran off into the woods. Sue, yeah, I got that going for me now. Short story on that one, the tenant and her boyfriend had pretty much destroyed the apartment and were already gone. Either way, you never know what the situation brings you to, so you just need to be prepared. Today's takeaways: 1. An ounce of prevention can save a pound of flesh. 2. Body cams can document everything. 3. If you are carrying a lot of cash around, change your patterns.